Hello, all of Sector Tailspin here. It's been a while. It's turned 27. Thought I'd do an update. I think you're all doing pretty well. I see I have multiple races coming at me from different directions, and I hope that never happens to you in a real game. Even two different players coming at you can be pretty devastating. So that's why you got to get out there with your diplomacy and really, talk to people. And you need to be the one who's ganging up on other people. You don't want it to happen to you. I had something over here happen with the privateers. This is called a wolf pack. My nebula here was over here at this planet, and there was a cloaked meteor there. The cloaked meteor towed me. That cloaked meteor died because it towed me. But he had two other cloaked ships waiting for me. So he's going to rob that and probably steal that ship. So that's a very, very common tactic, that the Wolfpack tactic that privateers like to use. He did a good job over here with his mine. He laid a huge minefield and caught my nebula crossing here. I was trying to be sneaky and get past him and into his core here. But he did a good job at stopping that. I should have checked that ship to see if it had what it had on board, but I didn't. It's not like I would have known anyway in a real game. This is a pretty dangerous thing for a privateer. If you see this, privateers towing in mine layers from other races like web layers or these robot mine layers, or towing in carriers when privateer volunteers to tow in another carrier races carriers. That's a dangerous thing to do. So it seems like Talek has some experience with some stuff, but I have a Virgo coming down here, pretty powerful ship. So I'm preparing my heavy ships to go after it. I'm also preparing this little guy here. He's got 6 beams. So when you have a carrier coming at you, you want to sacrifice a ship with a lot of beams to see if you can take out as many of those fighters as you can. Maybe make a dent in their shields, and then you have your heavy ship coming in behind them. I have fascists over here. These fascists, they have fast beams. So if you have any ship with fighters, it's not fun to fight them because they just eat your fighters alive. So I'm sending torpedo ships after those guys. Birds, you can't see them. There's not much I can do about cloaked birds except for minefields. I've had to refit my ships as fast as I could so they're not as powerful as I would like, because I have so many different races coming at me. I need to be ready. And we'll see how that goes. Which reminds me, the scoreboard. So it is turn 27. In classic games, the ship limit can be hit by 24, 25, 30, the latest. In standard with the production queue, it's usually up to turn 30, but somewhere in between 25 and 30 can occur. So I have 63 ships. And that's okay. That's good. That's very good. It's not amazing or anything, but it's good. I turned 27. The worst part about it is I only built 5 Novas, my dreadnoughts, and those are my heaviest ships. And I have 1 Missouri, so those are my 2 heaviest ships, and I don't have a lot of those. So now's about time where you're going to see those heavy carriers coming at you, and I need more dreadnoughts. And I do have a couple more. Missouris aren't the heaviest, but they are pretty heavy, so they're a decent ship. 46 warships, 17 freighters. I don't think I need more than that for freighters. Maybe a few more mediums, but you should have a lot more freighters. This is the reason why everybody else doesn't have as many ships is because they don't have as many freighters, because they didn't get earlier star bases out. By turn 10 you could have 3. Not saying you should, but you certainly can. And one of those producing medium B-space freighters, and other ones getting points. I don't think I got a lot of priority points, not a lot, because I was using all my star bases. So I could have used an extra couple of star bases to produce production points, priority points. And that was primarily because I did not colonize my own cluster. I took that gamble and I crossed to colonize this, and I crossed to colonize this. So I went for a defensive positioning because I knew I'd be having people coming at me, instead of developing this place a bit better, which I should have, because then I would have found this humanoid and the insectoids and siliconoids, and I would have been producing more novas. And I only have 5. I should have at least 10. Good things and bad things about that. Another thing I wanted to talk about was mass of ships. That nova has a mass of 170. And a couple turns ago, a Resolute hit a couple of my minefields, and a Resolute has a mass of 180. So anything under 200 usually takes 2 mine hits to take it out. But I tend to not. I definitely don't like using mine layers that have one hit and they're dead, like the meteor. A meteor takes 1 mine hit and it's gone. You've lost all your torpedoes, you've lost all your whatever tech you've put on there. So I tend to avoid mine layers that pop with 1 mine hit. And even the Resolute, I play the birds a lot, and I don't really like using the Resolute on the front lines because it takes so much damage from 1 mine hit. If you have a ship that has heavy mass, like my Nova has a mass of 650, even a 300, 400 mass, like my Merlin, that's a pretty big mass. But certain ships like that can kind of plow through minefields and take a couple hits and keep on going. That's something to think about when you're planning attacks. Also for mass, the Federation has that their ships will fight with an extra 50 KT of combat mass. That's not a total mass for minefields. This Nebula fights with 220 mass. The Vendetta fights with 150. The Diplomacy 230. So that's a pretty significant boost too, because where is it? If a starship has 140 KTs or more, and it's fighting from the right-hand side, and there's a carrier on the left, they get a 60% chance of receiving 360 KT combat mass, which is pretty hefty. So a torpedo fighting on the right versus a carrier has a good chance of getting 360 kilotons of combat mass added during the fight, which makes the higher your combat mass is, it's like more dense your ship is, and more energy it has. You resist damage with more combat mass, so your shields don't go down as fast, your hull doesn't explode as fast. They need more torpedoes to take you out, so that can be a really good thing. So it's one thing I like about the Feds. They have a lot of ships that go over that mark, like the Vendetta, the Banshee, the Nebula. They're all pretty high that they can go over that mark. There's other torpedo races too that have some, but that's an interesting fact to remember. So I guess if I were to just sum up what I wanted to say was, here's a few more privateer tactics. Pay attention to those. Really pay attention to the mass of your ships. They can make a big difference in battle, minefields, fuel. Diplomacy is extremely important. Talking to people so you don't end up with hordes of people attacking you. You don't want that. And you really got to get starbases going and develop your places sooner, because that ship limit's coming fast. You can see that if all of us had built 40, we would be at 500 by now. And you're going to have some races that are going to build ships quicker than others, and they're going to have 60 to 80, and while others only get 40. So it's really important to push out ships to fill that up, so you have ships to fight with. I was even slowed down by my distance here. I was slowed down by adding defense everywhere, and I was still able to get 63 ships. Although, mind you, I think there's a lot more minerals and natives in Mentor games, so that helped a bit. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next turn. There should be a few battles around, and I'm going to lose at least one ship. And it won't be long before I'm attacked by all kinds of different ships from different directions, so there'll be a lot of action. All right, talk to you next time.